Great, welcome everyone. We're just going to give folks a beat to join us, and then we will get started with things.
That's all?
Oh, no, I will talk. I just want to give people a chance to start joining.
I know, but while they're in the room. So if this were a real room, and I know it's been so much fun actually speaking again in real rooms. As people enter the room, I'm the speaker who walks around the room chatting with people. So I can do that virtually, right? Except I can't hear answers back.
Correct.
That's the only problem. So that's even better for me because then I could just talk, you know. So let me just say that I've been on the advisory board of the Great Muzzle Organization for maybe 3 or 4 years. And it was an honor to be asked because this organization does so much good for a lot of reasons. First of all, to my knowledge, there's no other national or international organization like it. Secondly, it's no news to all of you, those senior animals that are least likely to be adopted. Every once in a while, I see these videos on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube of an individual, and one day maybe I will be good enough to be that individual who walks into a shelter and says, give me the oldest animal you have. And that's the sort of idea that Gray Muzzle supports. The reality is that those older animals often have medical issues that go with it. And now with the economy being what it is, whatever is happening, I'm no economic guru, no idea. How about a little quirk with the economy? How's that for a technical word? But whatever's going on, people are relinquishing their animals in part, because they can no longer afford the care of those older animals. That's heartbreaking from every which way, right? And Gray Muzzle is stepping up, and when they can, dependent on your contributions, but when they can, they're saying, okay, we're going to pay for that dental procedure. We're going to pay for fill in the blank. Okay, I'm done. Do I have to do anything else today?
That was a wonderful introduction to Gray Muzzle. Thank you for handling that, Steve. And I will just say welcome to everyone, and thanks for those that are returning and for those that are joining us for the first time. We're happy you're all here with us today. As always, we're very excited about this opportunity to connect with you, and we are exceptionally excited to offer, it may not be the fountain of youth, but it may help, Enrichment for Senior Dogs and Cats, presented by Steve Dale. And for those of you that are attending and maybe new to Gray Muzzle, I know you heard a little bit from Steve already, so I'm just going to share again that the Gray Muzzle organization is one of the only national organizations dedicated specifically to advancing life-saving efforts on behalf of senior dogs. We provide funding and resources to animal shelters and rescue groups nationwide. In July, we announced awarding $705,000 in grants to 78 animal welfare groups in the United States and Canada, working to save and improve the lives of senior dogs. This brings the National Gray Muzzle Organization's total grant funding to more than $3.8 million since 2008. We are exceptionally proud of the work that we do, and we're so thankful for our community of Gray Muzzle supporters. And we're going to move forward with just a few quick introductions. Lisa Longhofer, who's Gray Muzzle's executive director, usually hosts, but I'm happy to do so today. I'm Laura Merrick. I'm Gray Muzzle's communications and impact manager. We're also joined by Amanda Grant, who is Gray Muzzle's administrator, and Heather Hayes, Gray Muzzle's creative content manager. And it is my honor to have this chance to introduce our very special guest presenter, Steve Dale. Steve Dale is a certified animal behavior consultant and host of 2 nationally syndicated radio shows, Steve Dale's Pet World and The Pet Minute, together heard on over 100 stations. Dale's contributed to and authored many books, including Decoding Your Dog and Decoding Your Cat, both authored by the American College of Veterinarian Behaviorists. And Steve has also authored ebooks, Good Dog and Good Cat, and others, and was a syndicated newspaper columnist. His TV appearances range from Oprah to Good Morning America, National Geographic Explorer, various Animal Planet shows, and others. He's a regular on the syndicated House Smarts TV. Currently a writer and contributing editor for Catster, He's also a columnist for the Journal of National Association of Veterinarian Technicians in America and writes a monthly column for DVM 360, where he serves on the editorial advisory board. Steve's involved in many legislative efforts from preventing free bans to banning sales of cats, dogs at pet stores, to creating a law to protect animals from kennel fires. He serves on the boards of Every Cat Health Foundation, formerly Win Feline, and the Human Animal Bond Association. Steve is certified fear-free and speaks on fear-free and cat-friendly practices. Steve's been honored with many awards, including the AVMA Humane Award in 2002, and in 2002, the AVMA Steve Dale Excellence in Media Award, and he's in the Dog Writers Hall of Fame. So we're just thrilled to have Steve with us here today. A quick note before we start is that we will have a question and answer segment at the end. So please feel free to submit your questions as they come up through the presentation in the Q&A area in the Zoom box. And if you are monitoring, or I'm sorry, if you're attending via the Facebook Live, we'll be monitoring the comments and be able to bring those questions to Steve's attention as well. So now I will go ahead and pass the virtual floor over to Steve to share with us. It may not be the fountain of youth, but it may help enrichment for senior dogs and cats.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. What a long introduction. I wish you had read the shorter version of that and saved everybody. You know, I just called up, there it is. The book that I contributed to that most has to do with this is Treatment and Care. Why do I keep, there we go. Treatment and Care of the Veterinary Patient. And that's what the book looked like. I was just a small contributor. Dr. Mary Gardner, who is also on the Gray Muzzle Advisory Board, incidentally, put that book together. She is incredible in every which way. So I've talked about enrichment for a very long time. Uh-oh, are we not advancing? There we go. I've talked about enrichment for a very long time at veterinary meetings and elsewhere. Enrichment is a management tool through which animal caretakers, wildlife rehabilitators, and others can provide animals with mental and physical stimulation using both natural and artificial objects. Behavioral enrichment also addresses space limitations that sanctuaries must, by necessity, provide. Whew, that's a long thing, right? Here's what enrichment is, in essence. Here's obviously a panda. This was at the National Zoo in DC. Here, this little inset I took out because it's really back there. I don't know that you could see my cursor or not, but that is to your lower left. Of course, you recognize Kong toys. So I don't know what they stuff it with for pandas. It's stuffed with something that I know, and the panda has to find it in the exhibit. That's what enrichment is. And we used to say enrichment is really, really important for our pets. Now we say behavior specialists, etc., say, and I don't believe I'm alone here. I think we all agree on not everything, but we all agree here that enrichment is necessary. Enrichment, another definition, manipulating the environment to suit the animal's normal behavior and or encouraging the animal's behavior to match the environment, providing natural, species-specific, even breed-specific outlets. I like that definition because it's mine. Okay, so let me give you some choices of what we're talking about here. And zoos have been doing this for a very long time and doing it quite well. Lynx are one of the wild cats that actually is impacted by catnip. It was provided to this link, and you see what the response is. To the left, a barberry macaque. There are little holes in that artificial log at the Lincoln Park Zoo. In those holes are condiments like mustard and ketchup and barbecue sauce. One part of enrichment is choice. So the monkeys have a choice of which condiment they want. They're always rotated. Maybe they want none. Maybe they want more than one. It's up to the monkey. Also in the exhibit, you can't see it in this image, are pieces of straw. And they use the straw just like it happens. When you know it, I'm wearing a Jane Goodall baseball cap. As in those Jane Goodall television specials, when she discovered chimpanzees use tools, well, monkeys have learned to do this as well in the wild, and they do that in captivity. So what they do is they take a stick or a piece of straw, sometimes their finger, stick it in the hole, and they lick out whatever they want to do. That is an example of enrichment. Now, if enrichment is important, or better put, necessary for dogs and cats, generally speaking, why would it not be to include our aging pets as well? And it is. And I'll hopefully make a case for saying it's even somehow more important. So here's what we know. Cognitive decline is slowed or even prevented with lifelong learning. It also teaches people, by the way, dogs, how to deal with the unexpected. And incidentally, dogs are used, and I'll talk more about this, as a model for aging for humans, because we age so incredibly similarly. Dogs age faster, of course, unfortunately, but the mode of aging, if you will, looks the same in the brain in a dog pretty much as it does a human being. I won't go into detail there unless you want me to afterwards in the questions. But if it's true for dogs and it's true for people, probably it's true for cats as well. What Grandpa said about if you don't use it, you lose it, was absolutely right. And we again know that. And I'll talk more about that. Physical exercise actually slows down the aging process. Animals' hardwired skills, if enrichment is used, is taken advantage of. We know that is beneficial for any species. There's boredom that can occur. Just because they're old and hanging out and sleeping most of the day, it doesn't mean that they don't want to be activated in some way and that they don't get bored. Boredom in our pets can create a number of behavior issues. Can help prevent behavior problems, can be an outlet for anxiety. In cats, feline lower urinary tract disease, now called Pandora's syndrome, is likely to occur in environments that are dull or unenriched. Attention in multi-pets homes, and here's what I'm talking about. In our house, we have, and if you're good, I'll show you our kitten, Groucho. She's laying right over there. She's sleeping. He's sleeping. We had a female cat forever, and I still do that. I say she, but Groucho is very much a he. So he's sleeping right there. Doesn't do that all the time, all day long, because Groucho is a kitten. We tend to pay more attention to our older animals, our younger animals, than our older animals. It's human nature. We figure they already know it, or they don't want to be bothered, or whatever. Well, I don't believe, and there's no data I have to support this one, but I don't believe that's fair, for lack of a better way of putting it. And enrichment, if done appropriately, can simply be fun. Now, I want to talk about what's going on right now in America. When I put this talk together, it was not all that long ago, but before whatever's going on with the economy began to happen with the economy. But as of the point that I put this together, Americans were still spending, even during the pandemic, a whole lot of money on luxury items. For example, for our dogs. Dogs share our beds about half the time. Cats, interestingly enough, even more than that. For this statistic I really think is fascinating. In 2018, 14% of millennials purchased a luxury item in the pet care category. 18% of millennials that same year made a luxury purchase for their children or their child. Significantly, there's little, if any, difference there. Our pets are our fur babies. They are our children. So I want to talk more about enriched lives for seniors and why it's important. Senior pets. Companion animals are living longer lives than ever before, a variety of reasons for that. But as they live longer lives, don't we need to enrich those lives throughout their lifetime? I suggest yes. 67% of cats are indoors only. That's safer for cats, and I am a proponent of that and will argue that with you if you like any old time. that we keep them indoors. But if we keep them indoors and their environment is not enriched, I argue we're doing them a disservice. Most cats and dogs are overweight or obese, and osteoarthritis in cats and dogs, it's always been there, but it's now being identified more so. And by the way, as our pets grow this way, arthritis increases as well. What does the arthritis and what do those bullet points have to do with enrichment? Well, I'll get there, I promise. You've heard perhaps of enrichment. Perhaps you've not heard this term. And this is important. It's called contra-freeloading. And studies have been done in a variety of different species to demonstrate that those species prefer to work for their food rather than to have it freely available. Freely available. I put my hand down there. You can't see it. Freely available. Now you can see it. So it's just in a bowl and next to that bowl. So let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. And then I'll show you the best example I've ever seen, actually. So this is a grizzly bear. This grizzly bear, you've seen these items at zoos. So the bear has to manipulate, I don't know what they're called, but they have to manipulate that to get food out of there. They prefer to do that, according to more than one study. They prefer to do that compared to having food freely available. This has also been studied in laboratory rats and other species as well. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So these are meerkats. And Dr. Vint Verga of Veterinary Behaviors was kind enough to give me this video to show all of you. Inside this long box is food, but they have to go through the tunnels to get there. It is the same food found outside the box in the pan, in the aluminum pan. For whatever reason, the meerkats are far more, as you see, interested in getting to the food inside, which is not freely available. They have to work to get to it. The meerkats prefer, clearly, they prefer doing that. Now, why this is the case in many species, we don't know for sure. What about our dogs and cats? Well, we do know in cats, there was one study that showed actually they really don't prefer this type of feeding. However, I can argue that how many of you have a cat? And how many of you have had a cat that either gets outside by mistake or is an indoor-outdoor cat? And that cat comes back with a gift, like a bird that's now flying around your house, or maybe isn't able to do that anymore. That cat is well fed, but yet the cat prefers to actually work for the food. The bird isn't just falling out of the sky, presumably. I see a cat, I'm dropping. That doesn't happen. So the cat would rather work for the food. Now, understanding that what I just said is true for dogs and cats is important to understand why enrichment is important throughout life, which I'll get to in a second. Cognitive enrichment early in life appears to protect against development of cognitive decline and dementia. Now, I've given this talk for veterinarians, and if you're interested, I have citations and notes for a lot of what I'm saying here. So this isn't just me spewing what I think. This is based on what's been studied. Feline lower urinary tract disease, urinary tract infections. So we know that idiopathic feline lower urinary tract disease can occur in cats. And we know that it is more likely to occur with cats who have, as I said earlier, dull environments. And at one point in time, veterinarians threw antibiotics at this, even though it turns out there was no infection in these cats necessarily. So if there's no infection, antibiotics aren't going to do much good. They tried anti-anxiety medications of various kinds. That didn't do any good. Finally, Dr. Tony Buffington and colleagues figured out, and it's been shown over and over again, that stress induces this problem with their bladder, inflamed bladder. And that stress with the inflamed bladder causes them very often to urinate outside the litter box, and presumably it hurts when they urinate. Stress having to do with bladder function? Well, as crazy as it sounds, it is very true. And we know study after study at this point, that's the case. So how do you alleviate that stress? It turns out enriching the environment does the trick. No drugs needed. Pretty amazing. Urinary tract infections do, of course, occur in cats. But, well, they may occur more often as cats age. Oftentimes, that cat that's urinating outside the litter box is doing so because of idiopathic feline lower urinary tract disease and not because of a urinary tract infection. So I want to talk about some things that we can do for older animals that does seem to make sense to enrich their environment. And as I'll describe, what we do for older animals may be a version of what we do for younger animals. It's similar, it can be the same, and sometimes it's not at all the same. So we talk about cats at the moment first. We know they are hardwired to hunt. All cats are, indoor cats, whatever. It doesn't go away because they get older. So even that 20-year-old cat is hardwired to hunt. Can that cat, if the cat were outdoors, hunt efficiently? Probably not, which is one reason why cats that are truly outdoor cats, community cats, feral cats, may not live to the age of 20. Because unlike lions, for example, they're big cousins that hunt in prides and share food, sometimes willingly, share food. Therefore, members of the pride that are older may, at least for a short period of time, survive. It's not the case with individual hunters like our cats, domestic cats. Thinking where is the food and how to get to it is activity for the brain. So what we do, this is a Doc and Phoebe indoor hunting feeder is what it's called, but there are so many products like this now, which is great. When I first started talking about this, there were like 2 products for cats. Now there are many, 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 many outdoors, many products available online or at pet stores. This is the indoor hunting feeder. It looks like a little mouse of sorts. When you roll it around, my allergies are, I apologize. When you roll it on its side, you could see that there's a place to put kibble, and then the cat maneuvers it, and then the cat is able to get the kibble out. Ideally, you teach your cat how to find these in the house and actually hide these so the cat then hunts for it indoors. Now, I want to make a point of something really important. At some point in time, for dogs or cats, you stop doing that stuff because the dog or cat then isn't going to eat. And for cats in particular, as they age, dogs too, but cats even more, we want them to continue eating, and they may not likely continue eating. So if it, at some point in time, when the cat says this is too much for me, forget about it. But for your average cat of any age, up to the point that they say forget about it, this is a good thing to do. Just the movement is good. That's kind of like physical therapy that the animal is doing, and some calories are burned as a result. So this is what I was saying. It's a great idea. And this is the other side of that indoor hunting feeder. This is our cat who is 16 or 17 at this point. But at some point in time, it's just not great anymore. So it depends on that individual animal's interest and capability. But when you start when they're younger, they know how to do it, and they will keep doing it until it hurts to do it, or they can no longer think about it anymore. So similar idea. This is our cat Roxy, who at this point in time was about 13 or so. And all I did, so you don't have to spend money on this stuff necessarily. Well, I spent money on the beer, but you don't have to spend money on toys even. I just put some kibble. You could use an egg crate, you know, the thing that eggs come in. I don't know if they're called egg crates or not. And the important part about this video is Now I can write off all beer purchases, right? Because I showed you guys this. There are enriching toys that are specifically marketed for senior cats. Here are just a couple of them, but there are many examples of these. I love snuffle mats for dogs or cats. If you're not familiar with this, and people now make these, they're sold for sure. You can get them at Amazon and many pet stores and other places online, etc. But you put the kibble inside there, or the dog or cat treats, cats too. And then the cat has to work to get the treats out. It's great occupational therapy for when you're not there. Enriching toys for senior dogs. For dogs, even more than cats, many are marketed for seniors. So you want soft toys. You want toys that are easy to use. When using puzzle feeders, you don't want the most difficult choices. And they even have a Kong toy, for example, for senior dogs. You still want the cat to climb. Because a cat gets older, doesn't mean the cat no longer wants to climb. So let's make it easy for the cat to do. And the good thing about these cat trees is they are less expensive than the really big ones that a young kitten, like our kitten right here, prefers. Let's make life easier. And these are just two examples to make life easier. So, and it's interesting because these are marketed for seniors. And I just noticed that right now that even though this is a product marketed for seniors, they show a puppy here. Go figure. This is a senior dog getting into an RV or some such thing. And I love this because dogs and cats still want to be with us. So that cat or dog, and I showed you the data on how many pets share our beds with us, right? It's giant. So those animals still want to share their bed with us. Here is our cat that I showed. She was about 18 or actually 19 probably here. So my wife has like 400 million pillows on the bed. Yeah, she's one of those. And so what I did is I just took a bunch of them and I put them arranged in any which way they happen to fall pretty much. The thing about this is, and here's how it's enriching, is that the cat has to learn the second time they're arranged differently on the next day. She's looking, why are you pointing your phone at me? And she's able to jump up there. So here's what I have to do now, which is really embarrassing because I had a ton to drink. Are you moderator people still here? This is the first time in my life I've done this and I've given 4 million talks. Moderator people, are you there? I have to run to the restroom. I apologize. This has never happened. I'm sorry.
We'll just take a quick break and then Steve will join us and we'll get back to this fascinating webinar with such just really unique ideas that I haven't experienced yet as far as enrichment. So just hang with us and Steve will be back with us in just a few minutes.
I'm coming. That's our kitten. All right, sorry.
No problem. Welcome back.
Oh, gee whiz, thank you. So I had back-to-back calls, and let me get back into the, wow. Go. I had back-to-back calls, and I was guzzling, because my allergies have been bothering me today, as I said, and they say drink a lot, and I was doing that, but now, sorry, I've given literally I don't know, during the pandemic, I probably gave just during the pandemic 300 of these talks, not about this topic necessarily only. And this has never, ever happened, ever. Okay. So this is Dr. Karen Overall. She's a veterinary behaviorist. This is not Dr. Karen Overall. This is her husband, Art, Dr. Overall also. He's also a doctor. And this is Toby inside what is actually a, this is made for cats. But we didn't tell Toby that. And at that point in time, there weren't available for dogs as there are now. So Toby looks a little scrunched in there. But the idea is that now the dog can go where the people can go. So this dog, Toby, was only able to really walk in the backyard, and that was about it. But now this dog can go with the family wherever the family goes, which I think is wonderful, and that is enriching. People now have bucket lists for dogs, which is an interesting idea. And these dogs may be near the end of their lives, but it doesn't mean they can't do what they enjoy doing most. And I would argue that this is good for the pet parents too, because it makes you feel good, doesn't it? To do things your dog likes to do, and you know your dog has always liked to do it. So let's do a version of it, if you can, before you can no longer do it. This is, I thought it was an image of my mom and dad with the carriage that really is made for cats. And this is a cat from long ago when these were first made. Don't they look like proud parents taking the cat for a walk, getting the cat outdoors in a safe way? You know, but I've been talking a bit about how you can enrich the environment using food, and that's important. But dogs and cats live by their noses, don't they? So olfactory enrichment is something that isn't talked about or considered enough, in my opinion. So we now have nose work classes for dogs. If you're not familiar with those, it's taking dogs to classes, dog training classes, and what they're trained to do is to identify different scents. If they don't do that great, it doesn't really matter. They don't have to work physically that hard. There's mental exercise involved, but older dogs can do this. And I love this because dogs love this. By and large, dogs love it. If your dog is not enjoying a nose work class, something is wrong with that instructor or the class, because this, or something is medically wrong with the dog, because this is something dogs are born to do. Even scent hounds, what's wrong with me today? Even sight hounds actually enjoy doing this, and most certainly scent hounds are born to do this, clearly. Leaving novel, you know, so if you say, okay, I don't have time for this, I can't join a class, I can't go to a class, you can do it at home just by leaving novel scents around in different places around the house. So the toilet tube thing, toilet paper thing, when you run out of toilet, you all have one of those, right? And you could just spray inside a safe scent on that, or on a clean rag, or something to that effect. It can be perfume, it can be cologne, it could be the scent of lavender, which presumably is also a calming scent. And finding that in the environment is interesting for a dog, or incidentally a cat as well. The dog toy exchange program, I love. Don't do this with cats. Do not do this with cats. But with dogs, you can go to a friend's house and say, can I borrow that dog toy? I just want to bring it home for a week and just put it down. It smells like that other dog. And assuming your dog is at least reasonably friendly with other dogs, especially if it's a dog that dog knows, wow, it's almost like a visit from that dog. It almost is the same thing, because the sense of smell is that intense in dogs and cats. For cats, old school catnip, silver vine, which can be purchased online, according to at least one study, is actually more activating, that's a good word, for cats than catnip. Valerian root is another option, which also has calming effects for cats. The best enrichment you can do is just by taking a walk with a dog. It turns out according to a study in a Scandinavian country a couple of years ago, the most enriching thing truly that you can do with your dog is just taking a walk. We don't even understand everything that dogs are smelling in a walk. Now, older dogs, a couple things, they don't want to go as far. You shouldn't go as far if they're arthritic. Movement, we know, is actually the best thing for arthritis. So no, you don't want to go jogging with an 18-year-old dog. However, yes, taking that dog out on a leash, even away from the backyard, for a half a block, different, it depends on your dog, right? How old is that dog? How arthritic is that dog? How many other medical problems does that dog have, etc. However, taking, and talk with your veterinarian, but taking some sort of walk is actually not only enriching, but is physically a good thing as well. Movement is a great thing. Talk to any physician on the human side. What keeps people young? The people that move. It's no different with our dogs, and incidentally, with our cats. Now, how do you get a cat to move? An interactive cat toy. We don't need them bouncing all over the house. You don't need a laser light for them to chase, just something so they move around and do so voluntarily. I want to touch on this. I'm not going to go into detail. So just as we have Alzheimer's disease, there is something called, for dogs, canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome, and cats, feline cognitive dysfunction syndrome. Here are the signs of that. So we do know that, or at least we do know. I was going to say we believe we know. No, in dogs, we know. In cats, we believe we know that this can be delayed. The onset of it might be delayed, or even potentially prevented with enrichment. Studies have been done to demonstrate that. And this is the reason why when people go to an independent living center, independent living, not a nursing home and not senior care, in independent living, always, if it's a good one, computer classes, language classes, all those things are offered. Bingo even. Bingo is fun, but also you have to at least find B12 or whatever on your card. And, seniors have to look for it. It activates their brain. And for dogs that are social, let's not forget that part of it as well. Keep those dogs being social. Not every dog is. Dog parks for older dogs, oh God, don't get me started. That's a whole other conversation, and one I'm concerned about taking those dogs to. But it doesn't mean you should never do it, depending on the park, depending on whether you are paying attention to your dog, and depending on the dog, most importantly. But it doesn't mean your friend's backyard, who the dog is known for 10 years and gets along great with, can't be a place where you still visit with that dog. Lifelong learning, I touched on this a second ago, we know is important in people. We know it's important for dogs, actually, because again, dogs have over and over again and continue to be used as a model for better understanding human aging. So lifelong learning, we know, begets more learning. The more you learn, the more you can learn. And that's a good thing. Dog classes, well, they actually have senior dog classes. So if all these things I'm talking about are good enough for humans, why not dogs? I already mentioned nose work classes, agility for senior dogs. They don't have to break records. They don't have to jump the highest. Not for all dogs, by the way, but for some, just again, that movement is what matters most. And if it's true for dogs, then why not cats? This is Samantha Martin. She goes on the road with her performing cats. This is one of her cats, happens to be a senior cat. Cat doesn't jump as high as it once did, or other cats do, but it still participates. Again, I'm using our older cat, the above left, using these food puzzles throughout her life. She knew when I presented a new one to her at the age of 18, exactly how to do it. And you could teach cats things, including giving a high five, just like you could teach dog things. So exercise, movement is movement, movement, movement. Losing flexibility is one thing that we know ages humans and we know ages dogs, and presumably it helps to age cats as well. Losing muscle, it's all called sarcopenia, same thing, losing muscle mass. We've all met older people and how quickly, if something happens, they can lose muscle mass. We don't want to see that happen in our dogs or cats. And obesity is a problem because then it makes it even more difficult for that aging animal to do anything. So what are some good ideas for many dogs? Swimming. It's non-weight bearing. And it's interesting for dogs who enjoy doing it. I would not throw a Pekingese in the pool. That's not a good idea. But for a Portuguese water dog, it is a very good idea. As I said, simply taking a walk, leaving out favorite toys so the dogs and cats can play with them on their own, for sure. Encouraging movement anytime you can. So you're walking from room to room, entice your cat to come with you. Use one of those interactive cat toys and say, come on, let's go. Not a big deal to move from room to room, but that cat perhaps has been sleeping for the last 8 hours. Getting that cat up and moving is not a bad idea. Same with our dogs. And stretching, and there are ways in which rehab veterinarians, your veterinarian, or others who are expert in this topic can show you how to teach your dog to stretch and make it fun. So yes, old cats can move, as I talked about, but it's not only that, it's creating the right kind of places, like warm places, excuse me, for our cats or dogs to lay down on. And in fact, there are warmers you could buy online for them, and you could put them in different places around. So one day that warmer is in the bedroom on the bed, assuming the dog or cat can get up on the bed. Another day it's on a sofa in another room. And another day it's on the floor maybe in still another room. So that's the enriching part of it, the fact that they have to find this favorite place for them to go. Offering empty boxes for cats, well, that's what Amazon is for, right? We know that. So what started me on this journey for enrichment for older animals, the aforementioned Dr. Karen Overall, in a presentation that I made on enrichment just in general, saw me present. She's brilliant. I was terrified that she was in the room, and I would be just as terrified today. But this was many, many years ago. These dogs sadly have long passed away. The cat in this video has long passed away as well. But what I described is I said, here's enrichment. I put food down, kibble down. I wrote a syndicated newspaper column, right? This is the good thing to do in my columns. So I just put food around underneath the newspaper. The dog at the left, the red and white dog, she's about 15 or 16 years old here. Look at her voluntarily moving and stretching. No one's forcing her to do anything. She wants to do it to get to the food. And Dr. Overall pointed out to me, do you know how that dog is moving? And it was a longer version of the video. She said the dog's moving better and better as the video goes on. That wasn't my intent in showing the video, but what she saw, and she was, of course, she's brilliant. She was way ahead of me. She said, this is what we should be doing for all dogs and cats, yeah, but for our older animals specifically. And we know that for older humans, laughter is the best medicine. So I don't know that you can play, what's your favorite comedy movie? I don't know. Whatever your favorite comedy is, think of it. I don't know that you can play that for your dog and your dog will laugh. So I don't know that how we get dogs and cats to laugh, but it's been argued that they do have a sense of humor. We know they have emotions. If we can have them, if we can find a way to make them smile, so to speak, to find a way to enhance the fun in their lives, maybe the endorphins in their head do the same thing that they do in our heads when we laugh. Here's how to find me. And many of the books that I've written or participated in one way or the other. This kitten that I showed you before. Oh my goodness, the sleeping kitten. His name is Groucho. You could you could find him on TikTok, Groucho _ the funny cat. It was my motivation when we got a kitten to start a TikTok page that people had been asking me to do for a long time. You can find me on other platforms and social media as well, and I hope you do. And I ended right on time. I hope to answer some questions.
Here I am. Thanks, Steve. I am not seeing any questions at this moment. Just let me take a quick peek. There. We don't have any questions. Is there any topic that you would like to circle back to kind of expound on your thoughts on a technique or an idea?
Oh, sure. So first of all, for all of you that are watching and support the Great Muzzle Organization, thank you. And thank you for taking time out of your day to watch. We know that enrichment is incredibly important. And as I said, necessary is I'm certain the right word now for all of our pets. And I hope you think about that. And this presentation was hopefully to open up your mind to the fact that first, enrichment is necessary. Second, okay, if you didn't know what enrichment is, hopefully I did an adequate job of explaining what enrichment can be. But thirdly, to not leave out our senior animals, because they benefit from it for all the same reasons. And as I showed, arguably even more reasons than your average 5-year-old dog or 3-year-old cat. So it is that important that we do this. How you do it is up to you, but enriching the at-home environment, and for dogs and potentially cats too. Many cats, I mean, the thing now is catios, right? So to have that cat go out on a catio, even at the age of 15 or whatever, is really, really important, just as it was when the cat was a younger cat. And going on walks with you for that dog is really, really important. The walks may not be as long. There may be more pit stops. There may be more stops to smell the roses. You may not be going running with that dog if you once did, but it doesn't mean that dog can't enjoy and shouldn't be enjoying the outside world as well.
I think those are such excellent points and how we can modify what we're doing to still give our senior pets in our lives an enriching experience and still stay active with what we're doing and have them be part of it, because there's just so much about the human-animal bond to be enjoyed. We do have a couple of questions that came in, so I will start sharing those with you. So from Nanette, she has asked, are there any supplements that help senior cats and dogs?
Oh gosh, yes. So I'm not sure supplements for what. So I'm not a veterinarian, so yes, there are. For every 20 supplements, I would suggest maybe one of them is science-backed. Your veterinarian can talk to you more about that. Are you talking supplements for such things as osteoarthritis? Or are you talking about supplements for anxiety or behavior issues, which frankly is more up my alley? I don't know the answer to that, but because supplements are unregulated, they're a good idea. I'm a supporter of them, but because they are unregulated, and therefore we don't know what that supplement might or might not do, or even potentially what's in it, unless there have been studies, peer-reviewed, published studies, and for some supplements, there really have been. And those are the ones that I pay attention to.
Thank you for that. We have another question from Denise, who is asking for more about similarities in aging in dogs and humans.
Ah, yes, that's a lot to talk about. So we know that the amyloid plaque that forms when a human begins to develop Alzheimer's disease looks the same under a microscope, not similar, pretty much the same as it does with the dog. And when researchers figured that out X number of years ago, they began to look at dogs and how dogs age. And in a very similar way, dogs do things or don't do things. So here's what I mean. I talked about flexibility. It turns out aging dogs lose flexibility as they age, some more than others, just like people. dependent on a whole lot of factors. And those factors are very similar in dogs as they are people. How that dog was in good physical shape in the first place or not, whether that dog was overweight or obese in the first place or not. The genetics of that individual dog plays a role in all of that. Breed does too, and that's not the case in people, of course. But what isn't the case in people are those same things. The connection to being overweight or obese, the connection to be physically active your entire life, and all of those things, and dependent on the kind of exercise even, they are the same. We also know that dogs that continue to learn can continue to learn really well. And this is really important in relation to this talk. Humans that continue to learn can continue to learn really well. That's actually identical in dogs as it is in people. We know that dogs lose muscle mass as they age, or can lose muscle mass very quickly as they age. It's true in people, as I mentioned as well. So those are just some of the similarities between them. But we also know that dogs that, and I want to talk about learning again, that continue to learn are less likely to have cognitive issues as they continue to age. And it turns out the same is true in people as well. Does that, I hope, answer the question a bit? And by the way, if we know that's true in dogs and humans, and I have citations that I could send you. I quoted Charles Milgram, who's one of the leading researchers in this area on the human side, Dr. Gary Landsberg on the canine side. But it's assumed that if it's true in dogs and people, it's actually probably true in cats as well. I don't want to shortchange cats.
Oh, it's super interesting. And I'm not very familiar with it, but there's the dog aging project. Is that correct? Is one of them where they're studying
the golden? I'm sorry.
Is it the dog aging project?
I don't know that it's the golden retriever. It's the lifetime. Yeah, it's the Morris Animal Foundation study. Mm-hmm. Yes. So initial results have come out, and those results initially anyway are looking at cancers and some other things. They're not necessarily looking at the way the brain ages or how those dogs physically age. But we are learning, it's an important research. We are learning, first of all, no other study has been done ever, as far as I know, to follow dogs from the point in which they're puppies, or at least younger dogs, until the point where they pass away. There's no other study that I know of that's done that. And I'm trying to think of the name of the study, but it's from the Morris Animal Foundation. You can go to their website to learn more about it. And what they are really looking at, and what motivated the study in the first place, is that it seemed golden retrievers were dying way early of certain kinds of cancers. And we had a dog that died of cancer. It wasn't golden, way early for me also. So I understand the need for the study and the results, but the results primarily are looking at cancers.
We have another question from Nanette for you. How long should we do enrichment for our seniors daily?
Oh, there's no time base on it. I mean, it can be as simple as you get a UPS delivery or FedEx, and those are really for cats. So what you do is you take a box and put it out for the cat. Cut a hole inside the next day, that's Monday, Tuesday. Cut a hole on the side big enough for the cat to walk in, or put the box on the side so the cat can walk in. When the cat walks in, the cat gets a treat or catnip or something. Third day, you put the box in another room. I mean, there doesn't need to be a ton of effort here. For dogs, just you could rotate dog toys. That's enriching because they're not the same old toys all the time. So there's no real time frame that I can give you that's a magic recipe. So it's also about participating with your animals and taking your animals for walks, et cetera, as I described. How much time is involved in that? That's hard to answer. You know, it depends on your animals, your schedule, but it's nothing that you have to do. So 3 hours a day, it can vary. It can be 3 hours a day, but then for 20 days in a row, it could be 20 minutes. I mean, it could totally vary.
And then we have another question from Rochelle. What is your opinion about adopting a new puppy when your dog is older?
Ah, that's a great question. We ask your dog, your older dog. The problem is we really can't. So if your dog is geriatric, really, really old, I'd question that unless your dog has always had experiences with puppies, because those puppies, now what you can do, couple things. First of all, oh my gosh, could be a 4-hour answer. What you can do is adopt 2 puppies because then they keep each other occupied and aren't driving the older dog crazy. Or adopt 2 kittens and they're even less likely. Or adopt 2 kittens and 2 puppies and they're really less likely to bother that older dog. But adopting one can be a problem if we're talking about a geriatric. However, if we're talking about a dog that's just aging, getting older, and if that dog is predisposed to like other dogs, which is a huge part of it. So if you know that dog, and be honest with yourself, if you know that dog really isn't so great with other dogs, don't do it. Why stress that dog out? However, if this dog has liked, or even better, loves other dogs historically, then yes. And I do believe that there is some truth to what we've all heard, is that it kind of is a fountain of youth for those dogs, right? You get a young dog, it helps keep that older dog young, not a geriatric dog, not a 32-year-old dog. Don't do that. But if we're talking about an aging dog, and I can't give you a number because aging looks different from dog to dog, and certainly aging is different for a Saint Bernard compared to a Chihuahua, right? You know, so I can't give you a number, not knowing what you're, but if it's an aging dog is in generally decent health, then I say go for it if that dog likes other dogs. But one way around it, as I said, get 2. Because that way they're paying attention to each other. Or in my world, get 4, 2 kittens and 2 puppies, but that might not work. You can get 6, 3 of each.
That is an exceptional answer. I love it. We do not have any other questions, and I know we're getting short on time.
Well, I've been short for years, so that's okay.
I just want to express a huge appreciation to you, Steve, for joining us today, and thanks for making this such a constructive and fun and informative time spent with you this afternoon.
And this is historic.
It is.
It is. It's the first time ever in the middle of a talk I've had to do that. So I apologize. I won't do it again. I owe you a talk.
I'm glad we could be part of your historic record breaking of all of your 300 plus webinars. We got to stand out in that one. Yeah, so thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate all the various examples and creative methods that you shared today so that we can enrich older animals' lives. We appreciate, again, your time and expertise in sharing and your experiences with us, so we are better prepared to support the senior dogs and cats in our lives. I just can't thank you enough for being here with us today, and I hope you'll join us again in the future.
Anytime. Thank you so much, and thank you all for joining. Thank you.
And just a quick reminder, we will follow up with a link to this recording to everyone that has registered, and be able to provide the additional information, Steve, that you have called out in your presentation for folks to be able to connect for resources. And we hope to see everyone at the October webinar. So goodbye for now, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.